Hallo, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdeed, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen.
Sparta, Pakher Hagele, Ni Hao, Chunushumme, Washmale, Ohio Gonzaimes, Guten Morgen, Ola, Bonjour, Privet, Kaifa Hal, Hale Shuma Chatore, Ahlan Wasal, Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracia, Swabia, Balli Karaya. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PT World. You're definitely watching World this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing, the very literate, the very educated,
Oh, wow.
the very always making sense, ladies and gentlemen. She happens to be Miss Shiza Hashmi and a very law-abiding citizen of Pakistan, and I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is ready to kickstart their day with us. Hello, Shiza. How are you doing today?
Doing absolutely great. Thank you so much. Doing better after just listening to these words
Yep.
about me. Well, we'll get to one part later. Other
Yeah.
than that, I feel like it's, well, first of all, we are blessed. Alhamdulillah. It's the second day straight. We're having rain over here in different parts, actually. So it even rained in Kari at one point, in Multan at one point. But yes, so we are probably headed towards, first of all, getting out of the, well, extreme summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's brilliant. And then into my favorite season, winter, yes, but before that, autumn.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love the fall vibe, especially here in Islamabad. So how was your morning? Did you enjoy the rain?
I think my morning
It's
was
so
great,
hot
but,
in the studio, though.
but I'm going to kind of start with what you started with as well, and that too rain. So, ladies and gentlemen, so just yesterday I got back home. It was already raining, and my driver, my domestic help was there, and I was like, "Hey, can you wash the car for me, please?" And he was like, "Sir, for the next 8 days, it's going to rain in Islamabad. What's the
So,
point
yeah,
of washing
might
your
as well."
car?" I was like, "Yeah, at least clean it from the inside as well, So what I did was I logged onto the internet and I was like, it's better that I kind of check the weather forecast myself, because what happened in E11 just a few days ago as well,
Yes.
because it was raining and there was a cloud burst as well, and unfortunately 2 lives were lost as well. So just to keep a check, I kind of checked it as well, and for the next 4 days, there are 70% chances that it's going to rain over here in Islamabad. I was only concerned about Islamabad. You can respectively check yours as well.
Yeah.
So please make sure to keep an umbrella in your car, because it can rain any time. Because today in one part of E11 it was raining,
Yes.
and in the other part of E11
wasn't.
it wasn't raining as well. And since it's Islamabad, ladies and gentlemen, that's the beauty of Islamabad in the first place. Number 2, I have a good news that inshallah soon Islamabad will be the only city over here in Pakistan which will be fully vaccinated, alhamdulillah. A great shout out to the government out there, a great shout out to the NCOC as well. You guys have done a brilliant job, and may you continue to do so as well.
Right.
Number 3,
Okay.
that, ladies and gentlemen, that the Islamic month of Muharram reaches to an
Safar,
end, and
yeah.
alhamdulillah, now today it's going to be the first day of Safar as well. So please make sure to give out your sadaqahs and zakat quite a lot, because this is something which is being said as well, that in Safar you may or kind of come across hardships in life as well, but sadaqah and zakat will obviously help you kind of stay in peace as well. So please make sure to do that. Share whatever you have with all those other people, and there are different forms of sadaqahs as well. Even whatever you spend on your wife, your kids, or your family is sadaqah too. So please make sure that you have a big heart and you share it with people out there.
Well, that is, I
Yeah.
think, some very beautiful messages to begin the day with.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for
I feel
enlightening
excited,
us.
but I think that the energy came from while I was driving towards work as well.
What was it? Was it something? I don't know, man.
I
Was
think
it the
it's a
ride
very-
you were?
I think it's a very interesting story. So everybody who's out there, after like 3 or 4 years, we are going to share it on air as well. That, because me and Shiza, we live like 2 streets apart or 3 streets apart as well. So what happens is usually whenever I'm leaving for work or she's leaving for work, it can be either way as well. So we kind of come across like right next to our streets as well.
Yeah.
So there's Shiza's car, there's my car as well. And her husband's really an amazing guy. He drives her over here to work every single day. So I don't know. So we have this competition that who's going to reach first. So whenever I would reach first, obviously I have to park my car, right? So while I'm parking my car, so she kind of runs in and she gets the seat in the makeup room in the first place.
I
as
mean,
well.
a girl's got to do
but
what a girl's
today
got
it
to
was
do.
very competitive. It was very competitive, and there was a
Funniest
time when I
thing.
was thinking that, hey, you know what? Whether whatever we're doing is right or wrong. But I don't know. How was the adrenaline rush? Have you ever been in a car so fast?
Of course I have. I've been with my dad.
Okay.
Well, he's very good at driving. Anyways, so here's the thing.
Cutting
So
the long story short.
Yeah, long story
Yeah.
short. we just put on the song Tokyo Drift from Fast and Furious, and the adrenaline rush was crazy. And Shahzad's like right in front of us, and his car is, mashallah, well, it's really fast, right? We
Even
cannot
your car today was very fast as
we
well.
tried. And I just told my husband, I was like, listen, I have to make it today. He goes like, do you want the driving seat? I was like, no.
I could feel it. I was like that, you know, it's Siza who's pressurizing Fakir as well today. So Fakir, you did a great job, man.
Bichara.
Alhamdulillah. And towards the end, he was like, sir, khayal kiya karenge. I was like, I think I should say the same thing to you as well. But other than that, you know, so it was 6th of September, it was our Defense Day, Martyrs Day as well. Then on the next day, ladies and gentlemen, it was Jawm-e-Fazaiya. Then on the 8th of September, ladies and gentlemen, it was Pak Bahriya Day as well. And speaking about all of these days, ladies and gentlemen, where we spoke about sea control, where we talk about air superiority or land superiority for that reason, obviously, you know, we were the ones who always made sure. In fact, all Pakistanis out there are always with their armed forces, with their martyrs, with the Ghazis and their families as well. But there are people outside Pakistan who are serving Pakistan, who instill the same kind of emotion, the same kind of jazba, who have the same patriotism as well, and they want to share it with all of our viewers out there in 46 different countries.
Which is absolutely brilliant, and I feel like, Shahzad, this particular time in the history of Pakistan is really progressive. In a way where, imagine our premier for the first time ever said it out loud that now we are focusing on building bilateral relationship with nations on the basis of not something geopolitical, but geo-economic rather. And then sort of, you know, sharing each other's resources and expertise in education, be it so many different sectors, for example, agriculture for that matter, because it matters to Pakistan. For example, cybersecurity, health for that matter. So many different arenas. Yes, education too. So I feel like we are definitely on the right track. And speaking of building bilateral relations, this was just in news yesterday, and this year actually has been going great for Pakistan and Hungary, both of them all together. Because ever since this year began, and ever since February, news have been coming in of different MOUs being signed, and you know, the ministries traveling either to Pakistan, and then Pakistan is going to Hungary itself as well. Well, there are so many business deals going on and whatnot, but I don't want to give it all away because we have someone very apt to talk about it.
Exactly. But before we introduce him, ladies and gentlemen, he's actually written a song for all of us as well, for Pakistan, for the martyrs, for their families, and for the Ghazis as well. So please, the first things first, go ahead, take a listen to this wonderful song. And the best part is that it's actually written by our ambassador in Budapest, Hungary as well. So please go ahead, take a listen. And once you guys will listen, I think that will be the time when we'll actually listen to a conversation with him as well. So let's go. Let's take a listen. Bring it on. Vatan, mere pyare Vatan. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about time that we welcome His Excellency Muhammad Ejaz Saab. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. What a beautiful patriotic song.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Yo Regal Kivanok from Hungary.
I think, sir, you know that this actually happens every time on our show as well,
Right.
that our MCR people actually forget to turn on the speaker. So I'm going to request them first that please turn on the speaker and make sure that you do not repeat this mistake ever again as well.
But
But sir, assalamu alaikum once again.
Assalamu alaikum. Yo Regal Kivanok. I hope
well,
my
thank you for
voice
joining us. It's
clearly.
definitely a great pleasure and an honor for us to have you over here in the show. While I do sort of, begin with a question, I'm going to request again that we might be having a technical issue over here in the studio, so please try to fix that. Mohammad Ijaz Saab, we just listened to your song. It is so beautiful, and your patriotism and nationalism is definitely showing in it. So first of all, to begin with, how did you conceive this idea, and what made you think that you have to bring this to, well, sort of gift this to Pakistanis?
Um, I think as Pakistanis, all of us are really indebted to this country. Whatever I am today, it's just because of this beloved motherland. We are so deeply indebted, we can never pay back this debt. So it's just a small gesture of appreciation for this beautiful country we have.
Wow, that's wonderful. But sir, you know, speaking of it, obviously you happen to be an ambassador from Pakistan, alhamdulillah, right now posted in Budapest. And I know that you know how any Pakistani would feel when for a longer period of time they're away from their motherland. But you happen to be a lyricist, you happen to be a composer, you've mixed and mastered the entire track yourself. How did you acquire this skill?
It's basically a hobby because, as diplomat, we have a privilege to be exposed to so many cultures, so many vibes, and it basically sparks lots of color and lot of music in you. I'm basically a music lover, a singer since my childhood. As a medical doctor, I graduated as a medical doctor, and during the medical college days, my some of the batchmates who might be watching me, they would remember I used to sing national songs. On the PTV, actually, I had many naats recorded
Wow, mashallah.
during my college days. So it was a passion, and I think music is just inside me, but the nature of my job is so intense that it never gave me enough time to give to this. But Hungary, as you know, is one of the world's capitals for music. These three countries, Austria, Hungary, Czech Republic, they are the
Yes.
centers of the classic Western music. And so when I came here, it just gave me that impulse, that incentive to do something. And I'm happy I could do something. I hope you really liked it, because
So
it
we
was
did like it.
just.
Absolutely.
We like it from the core, from the bottom of our hearts as well. But there's this very important thing which I wanted to ask, and that is that, you know, for somebody who's a doctor, a singer, a lyricist, a composer, how did he end up being an ambassador?
Mashallah.
As the fate would have it, basically, I often tell my friends that I wanted to become, after graduation as a medical doctor, I
Yeah.
wanted to become a psychologist, applied psychologist. And it happened that I took the CSS exam and ended up in Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then realized that perhaps this is the best applied field for applied psychology, because there's a lot of communication, there's culture to culture movement, and there's a lot of learning. You constantly learn new things every single day, and I'm very blessed to have had this career. Thanks again to Pakistan. It's just because of our beautiful country that we
Thank
have.
you, sir. It's an honor for us.
Well, that's really, really modest of you, I'm sure. I mean, because you belong to the foreign services, you really did something to actually get over there. But now let's come down to the new, I don't want to say new, but even stronger relationships of Hungary and Pakistan now. If you talk about business, this was, I think, in May this year that Budapest declared an $84 million credit line for doing businesses in Pakistan. Can you let us know some of the MOUs that were signed, and in what direction are we going forward together?
And we're hearing that a lot of parliamentarians as of now are in Hungary as
Yes.
well.
Indeed, it's all kind of dreams come true for me as an ambassador, because, Hungary, I used to say ever since I came here, and I used to say that both Hungary and Pakistan were on each other's blind spots, kind of. there is a distance gap. There's also a historic gap. We were never together as two countries. But thanks a lot to our foreign minister, Mr. Shah Mahmood Qureshi Saab. Some initial ideas that I submitted to him for consideration, he was very kind not only to accept them, but also to engage very closely with his counterpart, the Hungarian Foreign Minister, His Excellency Mr. Peter Siarto. And now the two have some very good chemistry. And Mr. Siarto visited Pakistan in April, end of April. It was a wonderful occasion. He brought a big business delegation with him. Already, I think the two embassies, the Embassy of Pakistan here in Budapest and the Hungarian Embassy in Islamabad, we have been working, frankly speaking, as one team to bring these two beautiful countries together. There's so much potential. And just to give you a little important information that, during my 1.5 years stay here, I have found more than 17 or 18 similarities between Hungary and Pakistan. There are so many similarities
Sir,
that
go
I
ahead. You
thought
can
that,
even share some as well.
yeah. We are both countries which are very closely linked and attached to our histories, to our values. We are both countries which are having their economies anchored in the agriculture. We are countries, both of them, which are very strategically located. Just like Pakistan, Hungary itself is located at a very strategic location in Central East Asia, Europe. And
Europe.
if you I think after Germany, perhaps Hungary is the only country which has seven neighbors around itself. For a European country, it's a big thing because it was the center of the Austro-Hungarian Empire at one time. And it remained, had a very cycles of history. So it has a lot of cultural roots. Hungarians very proudly say, and that we are perhaps the most Eastern Westerners, or the most Western Easterns in Europe. And that's true. They follow lots of values, lots of vibes that are very much Eastern. So there are so many similarities. If you talk about the people, they are all people attached to the land. Shahzad, the
Sir.
people who remain attached to their land. They are beautiful people. They are natural people. They are solid people, just like the Pakistani
I
people
think
are.
they're just like Mr. Mohammed Ijaz as well, who's in Budapest as of now, but he's writing songs about his motherland as well. But sir, we definitely kind of appreciate that as well. And since you spoke about agriculture, so I think that, where Shiza spoke about the $84 million credit line, I think that there will be projects of $50 million in the agriculture sector as
Yes.
well, which I think is quite a lot. Not just that, there will be 200 scholarships as well. Then there will be projects of cyber security. But sir, the most important question which stand with me today is that, we do these memorandum of understandings almost with every government, right? With every government, whichever is going to take over, they will have these memorandum of understandings. But I've never seen these memorandum of understandings kind of converting into real projects as well. So how far are we on this as well? Do you think that these memorandum of understandings will eventually be capitalized on?
I would say that in case of Hungary, I would not say anything about others. I think every ambassador, every mission of Pakistan in other country is trying to implement those. As far as we are concerned, I think we had actually done it in a way of reverse engineering. All the MOUs that we finally signed were actually worked upon with a lot of homework by both sides. For to take the example of the MOU we have had on water resource management. Now, under that, we have a joint expert group, our Ministry of Water Resources and their counterparts. Because Hungary is one country, Shahzad, that has excelled tremendously in this art of water resource management. It is a huge art they have developed. It's a skill, and that's an issue that is very, very important for Pakistan. So I think we are very working very closely on that. On the trade side, also, I think our TDIP had MOU with HEPA, and we are hoping as soon as the situation concerning COVID relaxes a bit. It has already relaxed completely in Hungary. You see, we are not wearing any masks. We are having one of the largest parliamentarian delegation from Pakistan. Right about they are about to leave Hungary while I'm here. and they had had wonderful conversations. So there's a lot of energy. Hungary is a country that is a huge market, a potential market in the heart of a part of Europe that has, frankly speaking, as I said, partly been overlooked in the past, because our general inclination towards more English speaking countries or more Western European countries. They are beautiful countries, but Central Eastern Europe is something to be focused on. I have been making my efforts to bring this thing into limelight. For Mr. Qureshi, for example, in May, as Shiza mentioned earlier, he together with Mr. Siarto inaugurated a Hungary-Pakistan Trade and Economic Window. We called it HPTEW. It was an online forum, and it is a forum which provides considerable information to the businessmen on two sides. I have been meeting their agricultural experts. Their Secretary of Agriculture is a very close friend and an excellent professional, and we have had a first meeting of the rice exporters from Pakistan with possible importers here. Rice and mangoes are something which still are not coming to Hungary at the scale they should be. And I've been telling them that you are agriculturists, you would love to eat Pakistani mangoes. They are
Yeah.
one of the most amazing fruits we can share with you. So, a lot of energy on the agriculture sector. On the education sector, Hungarian government has done something tremendous. They have been offering us 200 scholarships for our amazing kids, and out of these 200, 125 are on the graduation level, 50 for masters, and 25 for PhD every single year. And Shahzad, we didn't have a big Pakistani community here in Hungary in the past, but right now the situation is changing. Even yesterday, we had a group of around 30 or 20 Pakistani students who met the parliamentarians, and one important thing I would like to share with you and through you with our audience today, that while we have an amazing Pakistani diaspora doing their bit and doing wonderful service for Pakistan, actually, my song is basically dedicated to three audiences. One is the Pakistani diaspora, one is the Shuhada and their family, and one is our youth. So basically, it is very, very important that we understand what our youth can do. Now, Hungary is a place, if I can just say one final thing, Hungary is a place where, our community was not very much in the past, but slowly new students are coming, around 200. And I hope that in 10 years' time, perhaps Hungary will be the only country in the world, and especially in Europe, where we'll have a community, a Pakistani community, a representative Pakistani community composed entirely of the highly educated people, while all other diaspora are doing wonderful work, but they will be people who have learned from wonderful Hungarian universities and can represent Pakistan much better way.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us, Mohammed Ijaz Saab. This was the ambassador of Pakistan for Budapest, Hungary as well. And I think we did learn some great things about the relation,
Exactly.
about rather strongly developing the bilateral relationship between the two countries.
But I actually wanted to add over here because I just got kind of, I can actually see the images when I close my eyes as well, that, when there was this time of polyphonic ringtones and there were these phones which no matter how from up in the building you're going to throw down, they won't break as well. So I
yes,
think
the
everybody
Nokia
would know
one.
about the company. So every
Sorry.
time you would change the same, just right around the corner, it would be written on the phone as well, made in Hungary.
Okay.
This is something which I always remember. It's because of the fact that every time, I actually had a phone in my hand, either it was my chachu's or my abu's or somebody else's. They're like, yaar, beta, iski SIM to change kar do. So this is something which I used to read as well. I was very fascinated about it.
And
Yeah, speaking of that, so I think that, where His Excellency actually kind of spoke about education, I think it's very important to kind of build up on that.
Definitely so. And Shazad, you know what? It's so sort of vague when we say education, because for us, we do understand where we're going. But today we're talking about literacy.
Yeah.
How actually we do have quite a high literacy rate. Not really high,
it's
but
not
I mean,
really high.
well, I mean, it's moderate, I want to say. But what does that actually mean? Because when I mean, when people like us living in this very setup interact with other people, we are left with a question mark of how literate the other person may be. I'm not saying we are more literate than them, but I am obviously saying that there are people right now who need to be literate enough to do justice to the jobs that they have, to do justice to the systems that they have over here in the country, and then to the civic sense that they have to develop for themselves. It was only because of the literacy or the absence of literacy, Shazad, that one person would actually not understand what a formula car is and would actually ask, if the formula came first or
Well,
the car
I
came
think
first.
that was
No.
just sheer ignorance
So that is
to a
illiteracy,
sport.
Shazad. Ignorance is illiteracy.
Yeah,
You choose to be.
I mean,
Sorry.
I truly get that, but I mean, obviously, if you're going to kind of speak about, masalas with me, I might not even know about what masala you're talking about,
But
or what
Shazad,
to kind of talk
no,
about
hold
it.
on. It's your job.
Yeah, I know
Wouldn't you do
it's
your
my job to
homework?
kind of do my research, but
Exactly.
obviously, unfortunately, I think it
But
was
that's where literacy
ignorance
comes
on
in.
her part as well. But yeah, okay, leave that beside as well. But ladies and gentlemen, speaking about Pakistan over here, I think I'm going to put in front of you and in fact on the table all of the real statistics and facts which are actually given to us by Ministry of Federal Education and professional training as well. So Shiza, over here in Pakistan, they say that the literacy rate is 62.3%, which means the 60 million people are illiterate. So imagine that whatever I'm saying right now or whatever they kind of hear or what kind of, I mean, they cannot read, they cannot write, and they cannot comprehend as well. But when we go to the UNESCO's definition of what literacy is, so they say that it is the ability to write and read as well, and then understand. So obviously, imagine that you go to a store, you pick a shampoo, and you cannot read the whatever's written on it as well. So this is one problem. Number two, you cannot read anyways as well. So that means that you cannot understand. So imagine that there's nothing which you can do on your own in your life as well, which I believe is something which needs to be prioritized as well. But not just that, ladies and gentlemen, the National Commission for Human Development has actually prioritized literacy within this government as well, and they've made sure that they're going to prioritize their other segments which they are prioritizing this time around, which is primary education, primary health, poverty alleviation, and capacity building. Not just that, the best part is that the NCHD, ladies and gentlemen, since 2002 onwards, have actually developed 170,000 centers to make sure that they're actually going to impart knowledge, numeracy, and basic skills as well. And then they have trained more than 170,000 people and 17,000 teachers to kind of go and impart such knowledge.
That is absolutely brilliant. Let's build up further on
looks
that.
good, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then we have out-of-school children as well, which is a problem.
Well, it is definitely a problem, but the good part is, Shazad, someone is talking about it.
Yeah.
It was a problem
We
that
are.
no one talked about. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very detailed report about it, but producer Saab, please, I want to save it for later because our guests over here have been waiting so long and they are actually, mashallah, so well learned and well informed that I cannot wait to start this conversation with them. So without further ado, Shazad, if you can see the paper,
Yeah,
can you?
obviously
Because
I
my
do, and
eyesight
I
is
remember their names as well because
Of
they're
course.
regulars and we want these people to kind of share whatever knowledge they have on literacy as well, ladies and gentlemen. So we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by an educationist, a very smiley face early in the morning when I turned up to the makeup room as well, where me and Shiza are talking about, okay, who won today as well, but she happens to be Miss Musarrat Jazeb. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Walaikum salam, Shahzad, and it always gives me energy being here with you guys. It's lovely being on the show. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you. And alongside her, ladies and gentlemen, we've actually been joined by a mother who was saying goodbyes to her child who was visiting US. But obviously, being a mother, you missed your child. The very moment you think about that, okay, he's going to go tomorrow, but he actually happens to be a child care specialist as well, ladies and gentlemen. She happens to be an educationist. She happens to be a child education coach as well. She is Miss Shafia Rafiq. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum assalam. Good morning. How are you, Shazad?
Absolutely
Hope you guys
perfect.
Are doing really well, and the energy I just get from you guys, I just start talking, speaking.
You guys are
Intuition,
actually
yeah.
brilliant on your own as well. But okay, so because we're, again, short in time, this is something I always tell you whenever you come.
Yeah.
So let's
I
just
didn't
begin.
realize half of the show went by and we were talking. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to say. Okay, so let's begin. Shazad did actually give out some, while informative, some of the facts were alarming as well. So Ma'am Musarrat, to begin with you, because you work at an institution that is quite popular over here and you have been in the industry for so long as well. Kind of, I want you to explain to us what literacy means in Pakistan.
Well, a very, very common definition of literacy is to be able to read and write, and that is even about a certain age group.
Okay.
The statistics Shahzad just shared are far more alarming when you figure it out that out of,
60 million people.
Yeah,
Right.
60 million people out of school, and the literacy rate being in Pakistan is just 60. It's not 60 now. It's been, so in the last one decade.
No,
It's just been
and not just that,
fluctuating.
these are the facts of adult literacy or illiteracy.
Exactly. That's above
Yeah.
15 years of age. So, I mean, and not only that, out of the 60 or 60% plus literacy rate, women's literacy rate is 45%, which is far more alarming.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, there are multiple reasons contributing towards that. And the good thing is that we have started thinking about it now. We have started talking about it now. Because somewhere you could not really, establish the fact that the country has to grow and develop only when people are literate.
Definitely.
And it has to have a great deal of association with the curriculum that we teach at school. It has a great deal of association with the teaching strategies that we share, the quality of the teaching. And not only that, it has a lot to do with the culture in general in community as well. I tell you one thing, I was reading this article, this is so interesting that, there are certain places in your country that are more literate. Why? Because people in general are better off with the education and the professions.
example,
that they-
Gilgit-Baltistan,
Yeah, and then
AJK.
exactly, and then the dreams that the youngsters would have in that community are far better and bigger than they would have from another catchment area, maybe where a great number of people haven't been to school as such. So
Interesting.
yes, so I think this is a lot to be done together. So we not only have to have certain structure at place in the school, which is embedded into early years teaching and learning, which is embedded into mid-school primary teaching in the curriculum, and the quality teacher training has to be at place. It has to do with awareness as well amongst parents, where they are ready to send children to school.
Exactly. That's important. And, we kind of want to build up on that as well. But then there's this other thought process which is very much existent these days as well. Talking about, Ms. Shafia, moving on to you, we will talk about the top 500 Fortune companies, where now they kind of make a statement and they say that we really do not need a professional degree, but we need a skill set which is actually going to enable the company to kind of earn or do whatever they intend to do as well. So imagine that when we talk about literacy, do we talk about all of these skill sets as well, where we need to make sure that we are imparting those skill sets to people so that they can be successful in life? Because literacy is important so that everybody can be successful, right? They can have a good livelihood.
More or less.
Absolutely, Shahzad. The skills are very, very, very much important. But first of all, I would like to add here that we cannot ignore the fact that if you talk about children first, 22.8 million children are out of school, and especially the age from 5 to 16. So just imagine the parents who are not sending their children to school. The dilemma starts from there.
Yeah.
We need to take action from there. So since I work in early childhood, so I can tell you more about this fact, that how we can impart the skills and how we can educate children about skill development. So what's happening in schools is, if I rather say government school, government level schools, they're just talking about A, B, C, D and 1, 2, 3, 4 and Alif, Be, Pe, Te, Te, Se.
My daughter even says ABCB. She does not even say D.
Yeah, see, and then of course there is a system which is not in place. If you say there is a government system, then it's a private system. And the good thing about this government is that they have developed a single national curriculum.
Yes.
And they've
it is-
implemented it as well.
And it is implemented as well, and I'm luckily I was a part of that.
Yes.
And Alhamdulillah, I'm an author, and I develop pre-primary books.
Yep.
And
Brilliant.
I must say that we have put energy, heart, and soul in it, and made it on international standards, where you are talking about skills when the children are going to start studying right from the beginning, what they're supposed to learn and what skills they need as a professional.
Right.
We have given the activities, and we have educated teachers in terms of teachers' notes under the books. When you're in
Brilliant.
the classroom environment, the teacher knows what to teach actually. It's not about the lesson only. if you remember, if you go in past, you will see that there were books and teachers, they were not aware how to teach, what to teach.
They would just read it out.
They just read it out. But
Right.
now everything is changed.
Yeah.
I mean, we have everything written there. If they practice accordingly, I believe we can help our students to understand what actually life is.
Yeah.
See?
Absolutely. Yes, that's true. And I have to get back to that as well. But Ms. Masarrat actually did mention something very interesting where if you say you are literate and educated, the dreams will definitely be bigger because the mind opens up. The growth actually happens by educating yourself. And when we say education, Shahzad, or literacy for that matter, there is a chunk of people who would actually get offended in a way just because they associate education with Western education. That's not the thing. I would even respect you if you received all your education in Urdu medium and if you could actually present arguments or actually be informed about things and still be a Pakistani. I would respect you more than I probably respect myself.
Exactly.
One thing. No,
Yeah,
sir.
I
have
actually
to
want to
make a
ask you
point over
something.
here.
I want to
have
ask you something. I want that point to be there. But do you think that, you know, for somebody to be illiterate, don't you think that it's abusive and that's something for people to kind of understand?
Abusive? As
Yeah, I mean, imagine that, you know, if you call out on somebody and you call them illiterate, I think that that's more abusive than any other abusive language being used for
Did I
such
say
people as well.
illiterate?
No, that's not.
Okay, yes,
But
yes,
I'm
I
just
get
making
it.
a point.
Yeah, of course, you shouldn't call people out. But my point being, I really want the literacy rate to go high in terms where, yes, we dream bigger as well. But then I feel like we will have patience or tolerance to bear each other's ideas and views. Where now we take a second to flip out and be extremist about things. Ke,
Judgmental.
why do you believe that? I am going to get all over you, you know. If we're literate enough, we're going to give each other room to believe what we want to believe, to agree to disagree. And this is the smallest thing that's going to make a major change. Do you get it?
I
would
think
like to-
that's a lot to do with
That's a
being
lot.
literate
That's
and
wishful
being
thinking, actually.
well-educated.
I mean, does it have to do anything with being literate? I think it's about
Yeah,
being
I
well
think it has
nourished
to be,
and
I think-
well-groomed.
I tell you how I think is. Yeah, exactly. When you talk about a holistic education, it's a lot to do with the values that you carry,
Okay.
the tolerance that you develop for another viewpoint, the way that you behave in your personal and professional life or in your daily life, for that matter, out in the community.
Okay.
So I think these values can never be isolated from what we teach. If we teach a child read to and write, so we need to educate him what to read and write as well.
Yeah,
You know?
But Ms.
So
Masarrat,
this
you know-
has a lot to do with the choice of the content and Shahzad, if you remember, we were talking in the morning because you mentioned there was this word literature day yesterday. So I mean, this is one very important factor in our society which is becoming past, and I mean it's taking the back burner now, that people are not in a habit of reading books. You know, when you read a book, you
That's true.
actually are reading a whole
New
together
world.
perspective. You're reading altogether a new culture you come across you haven't even imagined. And then it obviously gives you a sense to look at things with a different eye.
Absolutely.
So I think while we talk about improving literacy, we need to talk about improving our quality of reading in terms of books and introducing a good literature to our children.
Exactly.
I mean, it would, of course, there are no more bedtime stories. Well, with bedtime stories, there's
I
also
loved
this
them.
very, yeah. So, I mean,
When
there
the last
has
time
to
somebody
be,
spoke about bedtime stories or
that was very controversial. I don't
Yeah.
want to talk about that.
Yeah.
No matter what bedtime story it is,
Okay.
no matter what language you're talking about, it doesn't have to do anything with the language, by the way.
Yes.
The mother can talk to the child in her very own mother tongue.
Right.
But there has to be some set of things and the values that she exposes that child to.
Right.
Similarly, when the child, reaches the school teacher has to take up the responsibility for that, very social and emotional development time, that she actually figures out the major interest that the child carries and the potential, and that is where she can develop that love of book with the child.
That's true. And Ms. Shafia even wanted to add.
Yeah,
I would like to add here. When we talk about, remote areas, we cannot ignore the fact that people are not literate. I must say this thing because, what they need to probably do is that you have to have your grandparents who are talking to you, interacting to you. If you are talking about reading and writing, I believe we need to give an awareness, and there should be some sort of system in place that we should educate, government should place some setup, some system in place that they can go, I don't know, home to home, or maybe when the child is born, they know that that particular child is supposed to be going to school, and how we ensure that, that is the question.
Exactly.
That is the
And you know,
question.
adding on to that as well, I'm sorry, because ladies and gentlemen, today, you know, sitting over here, I can feel that, you know, all of us 4 people over in the studios are very much kind of dedicated towards making sure that our country's literacy rate goes up, but in the right direction. You know, not just because people can
Yeah.
write and, you know, kind of
Just
read
sign
as well.
their
Yeah,
name.
so we were talking about holistic approach over here.
Yeah.
But now what I kind of want to share with our audiences and ask you as experts is that, you know, for imagine, so we have had people who literally are very white collar, and, you know, even God forbid if they cannot afford their kids to go to school, what they'll do is that they'll kind of educate them at their places, you know, so they'll be like, beta कायदा निकालो, आओ मैं पढ़ाता हूँ, जो
Yeah.
जैसे पाकिस्तान में होता है.
Okay.
So why don't we have an authority over here within our country where all of those children who've been schooled, who've been home read, or probably have been taking education in their homes, that this authority kind of takes a test towards the end of their 5 years, 6 years, or 8 years, or 10 years of education, and be like, hey, you know what? Yeah, you get this matriculation certificate, or you get this FSC certificate as well, because you're going to pass our test. Why can't we do that? Why do we have to send this child only to the school and then kind of get that entitlement that हाँ जी हम बड़े पढ़े लिखे हैं जी क्योंकि हम स्कूल गए हैं.
Is homeschooling that popular here?
Shahzad, that's a very pertinent question, and the fact is that we are way behind that stage where we could be thinking of the homeschooling. Because again, it has a lot to do with the parents' own level of
right.
literacy and their own level of understanding for the education. You talk about the developed countries and the developed education system where there is 100% literacy rate like Finland. You know what happens at early years? If the parent doesn't agree to send the child to school up to 7 years, the government has certain set of instructions and the content they hand over to the parent and tell the parent, okay, this is what you're supposed to introduce your child to.
Right.
Now we got to work on the structure back
Yeah.
again. If we actually want our society take up the responsibility in all walks of life, and we want parents be involved in educating children as well, maybe at their end in certain places where they can't have formal schooling. So we need to have a very, very system at place where parents can be educated and train themselves how to carry it on. You can't just leave it to chances and to their level of understanding of what literacy and education is all about. Because by the time children reach to the school, they would have as well missed on to very major skills that are important.
But with
to them.
single national curriculum in place, I think it's going to be easier for parents.
You know, this is what I actually want to take back to just 5 minutes back where we were sort of directing the question to you. And Ms. Shaffer, you're appropriate to answer this because a while back, Ms. Musarrat did mention some of the issues that, if dealt with at a primary age, would actually make better citizens. So you actually contributing to S&C, how are you making sure that you're going to incorporate all these values? Well, yes, there's teacher training and everything, but what is incorporated in the course? What will change that?
It's a very
Are you
good
supposed to
question.
talk about it though?
I'm going to just give you an
overview.
idea, an overview.
Great.
Yeah. Absolutely, Shiza. It's going to contribute, and as I told you that we are not talking about the previous books, and we are not talking about the curriculum. You know, once it was at place.
Yeah.
This new curriculum, they have ensured citizenship, values, culture, ethics, morals, and then Islamic education, and then skills they needed. And this all things makes it beautiful because it is embedded so well. It's not about books. It's majorly about curriculum.
Exactly.
And if that curriculum is being followed, we can ensure that any book you teach, if you teach according to the curriculum, you can ensure that you are giving your children the right values, right skill set, and counseling comes under the curriculum also. As for example, we were lacking counseling. At certain levels, students were not able to understand what field they should go when, and what to choose.
Yeah.
You know, but because of this single national curriculum, what is going to happen once they're going to have a mindset? They are reading throughout from pre-primary to matriculation. They are very much clear that what field they want to adopt and what they want to do. And then there is a teacher training, and then those are the books who are clearly telling and actually shouting and telling teachers what to teach, how to teach. And when you know what to teach and how to teach,
You're
end of
halfway
the day
there.
you will be getting some product out of it.
Exactly.
So I must appreciate, and we must all appreciate as a nation, that end of the day we have got something we can build on it.
Yeah.
We can always build on it, and we will build on it, inshallah.
we are
ta'ala.
building on it.
And we are building on it, but we should be proud of that. At least end of the day we have got that single national curriculum.
Definitely.
Exactly, and I want to kind of contribute to what you said, because Shizab, you actually asked about what are the values which are embedded to the core of it as well. Because I've actually taken a read of 1 or 2 books as well, but there's one thing which I kind of noticed, and I think that it was very important for people to understand that there's no discrimination amongst different ethnicities, people from different religions as well. There are examples from all over different religions, different parts of life over here in Pakistan and all over the world as well, which I believe is the most wonderful initiative by this government as well. But right now, we actually have a small report to share.
Yeah, finally, let's do it.
And that too about?
Literacy.
And I imagine, how people can actually have a cup of coffee full right at the beginning of the show, and it's still like full even towards the end of the show as well. But please go ahead, take a look at this.
Right, let's do it.
International Literacy Day takes place annually around the world to remind the public of the importance of literacy as a matter of dignity and human rights, and to advance the literacy agenda towards a more literate and sustainable society. Beyond its conventional concept as a set of reading, writing, and counting skills, literacy is now understood as a means of identification, understanding, interpretation, creation, and communication in an increasingly digital, text-mediated, information-rich, and fast-changing world. According to UNESCO, 773 million adults and young people lack basic literacy skills. On the other hand, the COVID-19 crisis has disrupted the learning of children, young people, and adults at an unprecedented scale. Youth and adult literacy were absent in many initial national response plans, while numerous literacy programs have been forced to halt their usual modes of operation. Even in the times of global crisis, efforts have been made to find alternative ways to ensure the continuity of learning, including distance learning. For that matter, Pakistan's education system also taken some important initiatives on national level to make education accessible to every student.
And ladies and gentlemen, I think that this report actually reminded us of something very beautiful as well, and that is the PTV's initiative of Teleschool.
Yes.
Because I have seen multiple programs on that as well, and it literally very kind of interactive. Not just that, the way kids actually watch their videos on iPads these days, or on Netflix or on YouTube. It's certainly like that you actually have to click on like one option. The TV is going to ask you a question, and if it's correct, we're like, hey, congratulations, thing like
So
that.
nice.
All baby sort of stuff, but I believe that it's wonderful. So if you have your kids at home, please make sure that you tune into Teleschool as well. At least give it a try for once. It's beautiful.
Oh, well, absolutely brilliant. We're really short on time, so ladies, I'm going to request you to make some very small but closing notes in a way that they're solution-based, or at least, suggestions for sure, or anything nice about how to increase the literacy rate. Let's begin.
Yeah, I think I'll only go back to the love of reading and book.
Oh, yeah.
And by book I actually mean book, not the e-book and the
Not
library.
e-book.
Because I love that feel and smell of the book as well.
Can we have this book in one hand and then our tablet in one hand and smell from here and read from here? Can we do that?
Yeah, I think Shahzad would want to do that. But I think we, have to encourage it at all levels. And let's have books gifted to each other instead of other stuff. Let's have reading clubs. Let's encourage children to share what they read with their friends and the family, and that is where they start learning.
And just 4 days ago, I gave
Brilliant.
my friend a book of quotations, and he has not returned it, even though he texted me that I've read it all. But hey, if you're listening, please make sure that you give me my book back. Yeah, please, Shafia.
Yeah, Ms. Shafia.
I would rather say that we must start from early years, and if we are talking about parents, government should ensure one thing, that when the child is born, and of course they have a birth certificate and they have a record of that particular child is born, and they make sure that by reaching the age of 4 or 5, which is the set time or age for the school-going children, to have a watch on whether the child is in school or not. So government school, they don't have that much fees, nothing. They can ensure that. So only thing is that just to monitor what's happening, be vigilant and make some system that you ensure that each children is gone to school, and if not, we have somebody who can come, or the community workers or someone or a team in place every area. They can go in their houses and they can educate parents in Urdu, in Punjabi, in Pashto, doesn't matter. They should have something in hands, a material they can hand over, and then they educate parents that how to read and write. Even if they are not able to read, they can at least read it to their children once they learn it. And that's how I believe we can improve literacy. And this is the best way.
Absolutely.
And that's
And I
wonderful.
feel like this is a brilliant idea. Thank you so much, Ms. Shafi, and thank you so much, Ma'am Musarat, for being here with us. It was, as usual, very why are you smiling?
Enlightening?
Yes, of course, it was enlightening. And you know, I feel like, of course, we have to look towards the government for everything, but on an individual or even on a societal level, I feel like where you live, your community right there, is where you have to make a change as well. Probably talk to the people around you, or, you know, discuss your kids' education with them. And if you do see someone who's not educated or being educated, then make sure to sort of involve them or speak to their parents that please aap ye kare or na kare for that matter. I remember
Shiza,
being
want to
so
add here.
Yeah.
I remember being well, a toddler for that matter, and children from my mohalla would come and pick me and my sister up and take us to Apa Ji, where we would study Quran, because we were so lazy. We'd be like, oh, humne nahi jana. But the parents in that community made sure that all of the kids would go to learn Quran, which is brilliant,
All
right?
right, and since we're very short on time, so we might not be able to give you that chance of adding up as well. But very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, I've asked a couple of my friends as well. I'm going to say it on air today that, you know, that after the show, probably after like 12 or 1, you know, I have like 1 or 2 hours to myself as well, where I want to kind of educate people. If you're out there, you can truly write to us as well and send your children to my place over, and I'll be very happy to kind of teach them whatever I know as well. So please make sure that you participate, because our news anchors, Mr. Farooq and Ms. Saina, are actually ready on the news desk as well. So it's about time that we say goodbye to everybody who's out there. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure to write to us. Remember us in your prayers. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.
morning.
Thank you very much.